it might be one of those things where he had already been promised the project and it didn't matter.
Oh,
So he
makes
kind of put
sense.
something like that together that was goofy because it didn't matter because he was already cast for
Mhm.
Superman. I
That
mean,
makes
because
sense.
like shows like Friends, for example. Okay, Friends. There isn't a synopsis for Friends. It basically says six young 20 somethings in an apartment in New York because they'd already picked their cast. They'd already like handpicked their cast. They'd already had episodes written in the can, and it was just sort of like sing 6 somethings in a New York apartment. So it's like, there's a lot of that stuff that's behind the scenes that we are not privy to, where it's
Mhm.
kind of like they'd already gotten funding, they've already got the approvals, everybody signed off on it, and they're just running something retarded
I got
for
you. So it was
for
like a foregone conclusion that this guy was playing. It's already locked in. He's got the
I,
part.
c- I would think so, yeah.
Scripts have been written.
So I mean, obviously
Storyboards.
we can get context, but it was just kind of something goofy or whatever. But so we've already and I think we've played the trailer on VTN as far as Superman. And I've got like a behind the scenes type thing for the little kid for kids on the new Superman, and then I have a like a 6 or 8 minute thing for the mysterious surrounding death of Superman with
Okay.
George Reeves. So I've got a little thing about that. Now, so we've got George Reeves, we've got Christopher Reeves, and obviously there's a technology thing. And in the first Superman of the Christopher Reeve stuff, we get the origin of Superman.
Yes.
In the comic books, um, I read a little bit of the comic books online where little Superman is in the hospital, tearing up the hospital, and the Kents decide to take him home with them. Um, and then you would think that like in the comic book is the cops would be called on a kid that's literally tearing everything up and throwing it through like windows and shit.
You would think so.
But in the movies is they have it where it's they're hiding the fact that he has powers.
Mhm.
So that was one difference that I'd seen from the early comic books to what they were doing in the movies, because in the comic books he was tearing up the hospital because he was strong and he was irritated and everything else, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then
I
the
don't.
kids bring him home.
I don't remember. I remember Marlon Brando played his dad, which was interesting in
Yeah, it
the
was an
first
interesting.
Christopher Reeve movie. I
Yeah.
don't recall if they spent a whole lot of time on the Smallville part, like him growing up. I don't remember. I
Oh
just don't
yeah.
remember
Oh
any
yeah.
of that. Did
Because
they?
most of it was him
Being
trying to
Superman.
figure out being Superman, because he didn't actually turn into Superman until what, 4 or 5 seasons in or something. He knew he had powers, but he was the Blur in Smallville, where they were just like this Blur, and then all of a sudden he finally started coming out to people that he was close to let him know who he was the Blur. And then he called himself Superman like later in the show.
Okay.
I watched it. I didn't watch every season, but I probably watched the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 seasons.
But for
After
which
that,
one?
got Smallville.
Smallville? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Um.
never seen any of that. I heard it was good. I know it lasted like 10 seasons. Didn't it go on forever?
It seemed like it went on forever. I could pull up a little something about Smallville. It's because we're talking about it.
It was on CW, if I'm not mistaken, which always
Yeah,
makes me
it
think
was on
it's like a
CW.
young
Yeah.
for young adults kind of. That's sort of the
Yeah, basically.
demo.
Okay, so the question I have is, how many times do you think that they have to show the origin of Superman in every single movie? Just like the
0.
origin of Batman, just like the origin of Spider-Man. It seems like that they always treat the audience like they don't know the origins of Superman. What do you
I
think
think
about
that
that?
depends on the gap. Like, for instance, we were talking about how the original TV show and Christopher Reeve's Superman, there was like a 20-year gap there. Then I think it's all right to introduce the origins. But you don't need it every 6 years. I mean, it's like, all right, enough already. We get it. He grew up in a farm with the Kents, came from another planet. Like, I think you could just fast forward through all that stuff. It's not like they're explaining it to a new generation. It's only been 6 years.
Yeah. Do you think it's for IP purposes that they do it that way? Where they're trying to keep the origin under copyright. If they go a different direction and they leave that part behind, are they worried about the origin not being copyrighted?
I don't know. I hadn't thought of that, but I have heard things like IP retention being a driving factor behind like things like the Disney remakes. They just put a movie out to make sure they're refreshing their hold on the IP. So yeah, maybe. The only other thing I can think of is they think it appeals to younger people to see a young Clark Kent, discovering his powers and how to deal with it. Maybe that, I guess. I could see that, I suppose.
I mean, if you were a little kid, um, would you be um, like, oh, this I appeal to this person
No, but
because he's young?
I'm just saying I think this may be their thought process. This is what happens when you have 60-year-olds making content for 10-year-olds. They don't get it. When I was 10, you know what I wanted to see in a Superman movie? I wanted to see that shit we just saw in the black and white version. Explosions, fighter jets, spaceships, Superman flying and whooping ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I want to see a Superman movie and other superhero type things with it already that character. I don't want to
Yeah.
see that people are that people around that character are self-aware of who this person is.
Mhm.
And people are going to be people, and you can dramatize the fact where maybe Superman does something and people like side eye him, or even Batman, where he's an older Batman, people know who he is, and he does something that's uncharacteristic, and people begin to like question his motives. Like they've done that a little bit, where they'll like have the bad guy spin something or put something in the press or put a video together like Batman is going to let people die.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they've done stuff like that, but if you can have serious serious consequences of maybe an older Superman doing something that was kind of not taboo, but a little in the gray area. You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
know if the new Superman movie is going to do the origin story again because I've only seen the trailer. But do you think anybody who will go to see that movie really needs or wants to see that? I wouldn't think so.
No, I don't think so, because I think it's going to be parents that has seen the old Supermans. They know the origin of it. Some of them may have read the comic books when they were younger, and they'll take their kids because they want to share something with their kids in like Superman. And I mean, I would say that's probably 90% of it, right? Like I remember
think so.
watched Superman as a little kid, and I'm going to have my little kid do it. You know what I mean?
And if you're going to do the origin story again, don't waste a lot of screen time on it. Just get to the point. Because I think, in my opinion, those superhero movies, like Superman, Batman, they're almost equally villain driven as they are hero driven.
Yeah,
I'd say especially Batman.
Especially Batman, because and this might be I don't know. This is probably not a hard take, but the Batman villains are interesting, and they're actually probably better, almost better than Batman is.
Yep.
Obviously, Batman's the good guy, but like the Joker, come on, really?
And Batman's about the contraptions he uses and his cool gear and stuff like that. I don't like. Here's my hot take: Christian Bale. I didn't like him as Batman.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't. He was okay. But the movies for me were great because of the other performances around.
Whoever the bad person,
Heath Ledger
guy was. Oh God,
amazing.
Yes. I mean, I love that Dark Knight. Those are probably my favorite Batman movies. Is the Dark Knight movies?
I don't even think it's close. And I love the original Michael Keaton Batman.
Oh God, yeah. And Jack was amazing as a Joker. He was the
So
gold
much
standard
fun.
for the Joker forever until Heath Ledger just took it to another level. And I
I
don't
like
think that Heath Ledger did anything. I don't know. I don't think he did anything new and fresh, but just how he portrayed the character was just fantastic.
I was about to say the opposite, actually. I thought
Think so?
he took he put a twist. Jack Nicholson, I remember him being, he was crazy, but he was like zany crazy, like wacky. He was still evil.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger was like demented crazy. Like,
Yeah. And
it's
the scene where
more
he goes
scary.
in, yeah, frightening.
Mhm.
That this guy's on your tail. He's on your ass trying to kill you. And the couple of things in that Heath Ledger version, I chuckle and laugh and just are at all every time is the part where, and I don't know if it was improv, if it was actually in the script. My guess it was improv, is where that he goes to the party and he's like, "Where is Harvey Dent?" And he's walking around. He's like, "Harvey Dent, Harvey Dent, Harvey Dent, Harvey Dent." And he walks over to the one person with the glass of champagne in their hand, and he grabs it and he flings it and then takes a drink. You ever see that? You ever notice that?
I hadn't
Where
thought of that, but yeah,
where he
did it
was like,
backwards.
he took it and instead of drinking it, he flung it and then drank the nothing. That is the genius. That right there.
Yep.
And then the part where they capture him and he's in the room where they're gonna question him, and Batman freaking nails him, and he's like, "Are you trying to kill me?" And he's like, "I'm not trying to kill you. I love you." You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It was very much a without you, there's no me kind of.
I'm not trying to kill you. That was and it was genuine. You thought Heath Ledger was this psychopath. That's the genius part of it.
Yeah.
You didn't see Heath Ledger. You saw a fucking psychopath saying, "I love you. I'm not trying to kill you."
Yep. That's a good point, actually. You don't think when you watch that movie, and I guess good performances, is that you don't view it as this real person portraying this character. You just see the character. And I think that's what Heath Ledger's, I mean, that was the Joker.
And this is kind of a spin-in. And next week we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about actors, and I'm going to pull up some auditions, some old auditions and stuff like that. And we're going to talk about that. And it's the suspension of disbelief. Is this person who they are as a real person, or are they a person that is just playing a character? And I think we talked about this last week or the week before about Ben Affleck coming out there and talking about being on social media and being irritated, where he thinks that it's the suspension of disbelief is gone if you know too much about someone.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna talk a little bit about that next week, when we're talking about actors and stuff. But yeah, we're gonna talk about acting and what we think is a good actor and what their performance means, and we're going to look at old auditions and all kinds of stuff like that. So that will be next week. Yeah. So so this is a short clip, and this is of the new Superman, and this is sort of like a kind of behind the scenes thing that and it's only like 34 seconds, so it's really quick.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Okay, good work.
How is Superman to work with?
He's fun.
Nice work, everybody. High fives. Boom. Boom. I did meet lots of those video plays. Well, you're doing great work today. Oh, it looks like they might be ready. Are you guys ready?
One step back. Let's roll, please. Ready and action!
That was a cool shot.
That was a cool shot. And
He
I like
looks the part. This new guy, it's a good look.
And he's charming, and I get why they casted him, because the guy's got the look. He seems like he's a good guy. He's charming, which is what you want your Superman to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, he looks like, I thought Henry Cavill was good, but he didn't strike me at first glance like like Christopher Reeve did or this guy does. Like, oh, that's Superman. You're like,
Yeah.
and he was British. Can't have a British Superman. What's the matter with you?
What are you doing?
American way.
So that's another conversation I wanted to talk about with this. You know, us talking about Superman, but also just superheroes in general. Is from kind of the beginning of Superman, it was truth, justice, and the American way. And Christopher Reeve talked about that, where it's an attitude. What do you think that went wrong, and why doesn't Superman say truth, justice, and the American way?
It's not cool to say that nowadays. With George Reeves's Superman, that was post World War II. So I would imagine patriotism was at a high in America. We just won the war. So we were the good guys. So having a superhero pick that was a positive, a net positive. Now the country's so divided, and I'm not going to get into politics at all.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's cool. Like seen as cool, like the American way. So I think it's an uphill sell for them. And Superman as a character, I think, is sort of an uphill sell because he's not. Batman's cool. Superman, a little corny, I think, is how he's viewed.
Maybe. I honestly, I think it's agenda based.
Mhm.
Also, I think it's globalist based because they want to sell it to other countries. And if he says truth, justice, the American way, then people are going to be like, well, America's got flaws and they had slavery and they had all this other bullshit. And
Mhm.
it's like, we understand that America is not perfect. But I think that they use that tactic to not propaganda, but to get rid of something that is American, which is Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always
They
viewed
wanna-
Superman as sort of the archetype of what America could be.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we aspire to be: truth, justice, you know,
Well, and people
fighting
don't,
for the side of good and stuff like that. But
people are idiots. It's not about that. It's
that is that's true, right? And it's
The-
as we always say, it's always about the money. So you're probably right. The reason they took that out is because they're trying to sell this movie in whatever China.
I honestly think that's what it is.
Okay.
Idiots are going to say, well, it's because America's not perfect. And it's like, we know it's not perfect.
Yeah, it's a movie about a superhero.
It's a movie and a character that says that. And he said that during World War II. So yes, they can say it's propaganda because it probably was at some degree back in World War II. So
It's very jingoistic, which I think went down a little better back then than it would now.
and what you were talking about earlier about aspiring, and I think that's what it was. It was aspiring and be proud to be an American. This was back in World War II. Our Constitution even says that in the first line. We, the people of the United States of America, in order to form a perfect union. It doesn't say that we are a perfect human union.
Right. It doesn't say we figured this shit out already.
Correct.
We're working on it.
So when people say anything against that, they're globalists, they're idiot pieces of shit. Because
hopefully
it doesn't say that we are a perfect union. We aspire to be it. And I think Superman sort of took that where we're not perfect. And truth, justice, the American way is what we strive to be, not what we are. And I think idiots think that that's a statement of we are, and it's like you're an idiot.
It's not even and to further that, it's not even a statement saying that our best America is better than you. It's just this is the best us. We're not saying it's better than your culture and your culture.
Yeah.
It's what we as a country aspire to. So
yeah.
So anyway, I don't think. I just hope they don't politicize this movie coming out. I don't know much about it except for.
I'm hoping they don't either.
Yeah, my biggest. I don't know if you want to chat about the new movie for a minute, but I saw the trailer and I'm like, all right, the guy's got a good look. That's good.
Yeah.
Suit looks pretty cool. That's actually important. You don't want to look goofy like underoos outside your pants and stuff. So that looks all
Yeah.
right. But then I saw all these other characters coming in, Green Lantern, and I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? I just want, for a non-comic book reader like myself,
Yeah.
I want Superman against Lex Luthor. Like, give me a good villain.
Yeah.
You don't need to crowd it in with all these extra superheroes because then it turns into the same slop that's been coming out for the past 5 or 6 years in superhero movies. Just a million characters coming at you
Just
that
throwing
most
throwing
people
everything at
don't
the
know
wall.
about.
Yeah. Let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. I don't
Even when
like that. I don't like
Yeah,
that mentality.
no,
Give me a
no,
great story and you'll have me.
I think they're overestimating how large the comic. Well, no, that'd be stupid to say because Marvel just made billions and millions of dollars making movies about characters that I think most people didn't know about.
Don't
Like
give a shit about 'em.
Iron Man, I watched those movies and they were great. When they announced the movie, I didn't know who I'd never heard of Iron Man. Like, who? Why would they make a movie? Where's Superman? Like, that's the guy I know, Spider-Man.
I knew of Iron Man because of cartoons and all kinds of stuff, but I didn't know the origin and the whole thing.
Yeah.
I knew who he was, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so this last video that I have is, this one's like 8 minutes long and we can stop and talk about it. And this is the mysterious surrounding death of George Reeves, who was crazy. And I think
He looked a little off. Yeah.
I think George Reeves was originally from Michigan, so he's from where my neck of the woods is. I think I could be wrong. But I mean, I could play the new trailer. It'll probably get flagged for copyright if I play it. Even though I'm not monetized, they'll still flag it and say you're playing something that was okay. But ultimately, like I said, this is about Superman, but not really. It's just like exhausted with the same storyline of all the superhero movies where it's like, I want advancement. I want to see Superman doing his thing 20 years after everybody finds out who he is. Like, what's happening right now? Are people turning against him? You know what I mean? Like, I want to see that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So
They
hopefully
they got into that a little bit with Cavill's movies, right? Where some of the populace started questioning his intentions and
something like that. Yeah. And the dog in the new trailer, the dog is there.
I do like it.
So which is going to be lame, but that isn't after the fact. That's not like an origin story with the dog. And then also, is there a scene with Lois Lane where she knows he's Superman in the trailer, right?
Yeah, she's like grilling him.
You know what? Let me pull it up, but I won't play like the whole thing. I'll play like a little bit of it. We can talk about it.
It's so funny that they strike trailers. Like, isn't the idea of a trailer to get it
To
out
promote
there?
movies? Fucking retarded. Yes.